Okay, hi everybody. My name is Gordon, and today I'll present to you a project I've been working on for the past year. Basically, just a bit about me. I've been kind of living a double life for a very long time. One is being very deeply involved in blockchain and kind of the crypto ecosystem, and my second life is kind of being an artist my whole life since I was a kid. So essentially, I kind of got involved in crypto since late 2011, and at the time studying art, I kind of was seeing these two worlds and really thinking, how can I kind of merge this digital immaterial world with the physical world, especially like with the world of kind of creating physical art. So at the time I was running a mining operation and kind of studying art, and then slowly through years, I saw that there's a link where these two worlds could actually merge and intersect. And I was very passionate about how can I even communicate some of this innovation happening in the technology sphere through art, because I believe art is one of the most powerful communicators and one of the best tools to create some of these abstract concepts and communicate them in a very accessible way to maybe non-technical people. So basically, just to zoom it out, kind of my art practice has been having a single series every year that really kind of documents that moment in history. So I would usually pick a certain like topic or subject that I find very impactful and personally very interested in, and then I would like explore that and express it through art, through an art series. So essentially here you can see it kind of every year there's like solidity, materiality, evolve, unity, circularity, and now for 2023, for the past year, I've been working on infinity. So what is infinity? Basically, I was thinking about what are kind of the main pillars of the digital world that I'm currently very interested in. And I identified blockchain layer as one of the kind of main pillars for digital ownership. Then we have a 3D layer for digital worlds, augmented reality, metaverses. And then we have AI for these like infinite streams of content that are being generated. And, obviously AI content it's just starting, hitting the internet. So in the next 2 years, I think there's going to be a huge wave. So essentially I was thinking like, how can I create an art series that somehow encompasses each one of these pillars and is kind of in the intersection of that? So that's how the idea for the Infinity series actually came about. And these are some of the main questions that I'm very interested in kind of exploring at the moment. So what is the relationship of the artist, their style and aesthetic in the realm of AI? What does it mean to be an unwilling target of AI training data? And also, what does it mean to self-exploit or to willingly surrender your art to a machine? And a bit broader question, but like in a world of these infinite AI outputs, what role is left for human creativity, narrative, and expertise? So this was kind of the basis for the series and some questions that I'm trying to explore. So essentially, being an artist that's kind of creating physical art for my whole life, I kind of had a lot of art I have produced throughout the years, So I kind of started thinking about these previous questions, and I decided to explore them through a 5-part process to kind of create these new artworks. So each artwork was created through this process, and now I'll quickly share like these 5 steps. So the first step is data. And here I scanned every single artwork that I ever created since I was a baby till like a month ago. So everything that I could find, everything that, I have a large archive of my works. I'm very obsessive on like saving things when it comes to art. And I'm very lucky to have a mom who saved some of my childhood drawings. So I also had kind of that period archived. So that's super helpful in this case. And then essentially, I realized that through my life, I have had these like 4 very big evolutions in style and also kind of like in interest when it comes to art. So I kind of decided then, once I scanned all of these pieces, that there was over 3,000 artworks. I then grouped them into 4 categories, kind of 4 parts of my life, which kind of chronologically actually followed. Which first one was the childhood art. The second one was graffiti, when I was in my teenage rebellious phase. And then a third one is figurative art, because I went to a traditional art high school. And then the final one is abstract art, which is, I guess, the phase I'm kind of currently still in. So essentially, I would scan all of these artworks and then put them in 4 different folders. And that brings us to step number 2. Step number 2 is algorithm or machine. So in this case, I actually trained a text-to-image AI model based on each one of these categories. So, and what's really important here to note is that each AI model, each one of these like custom AI models was only trained on my artworks. So, and exclusively my artworks I created in one of these 4 periods. So essentially, that resulted in me having kind of these 4 unique AI models that I could use to generate artworks. So this brings us to step number 3, which is human experience and curation. So once I created these models, I was thinking, how can I infuse a bit more of the human element? How can I like add an emotional layer, an experiential layer? Because at the end of the day, these AI models would not exist without the human artist, you know. And then me as the human artist, whatever I create physically, if it's a painting or a drawing, it's almost kind of a expression of all of my inner emotions, experiences I've been through. And, you know, it's kind of like a, you know, in the AI world, they would call it a latent space. So it's almost like my personal latent space is being expressed, and that's how physical art is created. So in this case, I then took all of the art that I ever created, scanned it, and then created these AI models that can now reproduce my style. So part 3, why is it called human experience, is because essentially I would identify what were the main concepts that had an impact on me in each one of these periods of my life. So for example, for figurative, that period for me is like from high school to university. And you know, an example would be like first love or feeling lost or a specific book or song or something that really impacted me in that period. So this is a visual example of decentralization. So I would use a concept like decentralization and then input it, use it as a prompt, essentially put it inside this AI model and tell it, essentially create me an artwork about decentralization in my style. And this is an example actually of what this custom AI model created. This is another example. So for example, fusion of classical and contemporary, which was something I was very interested in at the time. And then this is what was produced. And also important thing to note here, this is not the first image that was produced. Like I would generate hundreds of images and then I would pick one that really resonated with this concept. And I really like on an emotional level felt it kind of, you know, communicates that concept, idea, or emotion. So this is, for example, fear of regret. And then I would pick a final image that represents a single concept. So that's kind of part number 3. This is seeking to understand. So it's very interesting to see visually how these artworks kind of like have some sort of dialogue with the actual title of the work, which is also used as the prompt that generated it. So it's almost like the title is kind of the DNA of each one of these works. So, and also we have Ethereum because kind of in that period is when I discovered Ethereum too. So, and that leads us to step number 4, which is multiplicity, or to be more technical, you know, I call it the latent space exploration, you know. So basically, I was thinking what is very native to the medium of AI, you know, like, because as an artist, you can, you know, choose different mediums and everything has something very specific to them. Like if you make something out of clay, it's different than if you make something out of like acrylic paint or drawing, you know. So I was thinking like, what is very unique to using AI in your art practice? And I realized this concept of multiplicity, of these infinite variations of visual outputs and images that you can almost instantaneously generate is something that does not exist in any other medium in that way. And it kind of all originates back to this concept of the latent space, which, you know, is essentially how every AI model works. And to give you a metaphor, it's essentially every AI model is like a huge galaxy, okay? And in this galaxy, any point is an image, okay? So once we pick an image, it has a kind of a specific coordinate in this latent space. And this space is huge. So that's why we have almost infinite possibilities of these visual outputs. So in that sense, I think that's one of the biggest kind of revolutions when it comes to innovation in the visual art sense. So I was thinking, how can I highlight this concept of this like huge galaxy with like infinite, you know, possibilities of things that you can kind of create and essentially more like retrieve from it. And then I decided once I picked a single image that represents a concept to kind of create variations that essentially would like show what's maybe here or what's here, what other images are around this image. And I would do that by creating this kind of hack where I would take the image, lower its opacity to almost 1%, and tell the AI model, bring back the opacity to 100%. And this would cause the AI model to trigger a different point in this universe and give me maybe, if this was my original image in this space, maybe it would trigger an image that's here or here. So the image would be very similar, but actually different. So this is an example of a piece that was created using the prompt or the title Infinity, which is the kind of the same name as the collection. And then this is the second variation that came after it. And then I would kind of repeat this process 5 more times. So essentially lower the opacity, tell the AI to bring me again an image, and the AI would like generate something slightly different. So I'll just go back. So you can see kind of how the structure of the image is very similar, but it also changes like style-wise. And what's very important here to note is that the signature in the image is also generated by the algorithm. So it kind of learned from all of my artworks throughout my life what my signature is, and it can now actually digitally reproduce it, which I was not expecting to be as as close to my signature as it is. And sometimes I almost had this like feeling when I would generate an image, like, like did I create this or did I not? Like I almost wasn't sure if it was one of my works or not. So that's something I really wanted to kind of explore. And then the question is, okay, so remember those 3 pillars from the beginning that I mentioned? The one pillar we really didn't touch upon here is 3D. And then the reason why I create all of these variations is because all of them, in the end, are used to be compiled into an actual 3-dimensional cube, where each side of the cube is a different variation of this kind of concept, like a different image, So it's almost like a kind of like a conceptual sculpture that embodies this idea of multiplicity and of infinite variations that kind of AI models give us, especially text-to-image models. So each side has a different variation of these images. And then, basically the actual NFT artwork is not a GIF, not an image, but an actual 3-dimensional object that is metaverse compatible. So that means that in any digital environment you can import it, or in augmented reality. So this is an example of how some of these pieces look. So they're like cubes that each one is different and each one is connected to a specific concept. And it's almost like a representation of the diverse manifestations of a single concept. So this one was, for example, dopamine. And then, it's interesting how it kind of triggered like something to do with like anime and kind of cartoons, and kind of it was more generated in the style of my watercolors, while we have some other ones which are more like realistic or more like in, for example, like sketchbook style. So it's really interesting to kind of experiment, what is the role of style in this kind of new realm of AI. And this is an example of a digital space where these pieces can be imported. And this is an augmented reality exhibition that was kind of displaying these cubes kind of in mixed reality. And then the final part is that I was very curious, how can I kind of now make a full circle? So once I generated an image, how can I now bring it back to physical reality and then use it as a starting point to make a new artwork? So essentially this is a AI generated work which I then painted on canvas traditionally. So I would like use it as inspiration for physical art. So I kind of did that with multiple pieces. The prompt for this one was Lose Yourself, which is a song by Eminem that I used to be very inspired by, especially when I go to the gym to this day. So I just needed to paint that piece. This is decentralization, but actually on canvas here. This is another piece from the collection, and I kind of like created a couple of exhibitions like in Lisbon and in Korea recently, where these almost like physical AI paintings were exhibited. So you can kind of see I was experimenting with different scales and different ways of kind of displaying them. So this is kind of also connected with how I'm thinking, like, how can I materialize some of these works, and how can I kind of communicate this concept of, the latent space and what it means for visual art. So essentially, this is an exhibition I recently did in France, in Nature, actually. And in this case, we have this like sculpture, almost, I would say, that has these different layers, and each layer represents a different image from this AI model. So it really, you can kind of see these variations through the latent space as you're kind of like almost moving through it. So yeah, I think that really kind of highlights some of the things that I find very interesting, kind of utilizing AI as a medium in our work. And I think it really just highlights some of the possibilities and questions some of the kind of how is the role of that artist being redefined. But then again, it also, in my view, highlights also the importance of narrative and vision, and how, none of these things would exist without a human, And I think that's something that we really kind of is exciting to be explored. And yeah, I'm just kind of looking forward to kind of see how we can kind of connect this with other things, and like just kind of explore it also maybe in the sense with connecting it with blockchain through like zero knowledge technologies, and yeah, just kind of like really pushing these boundaries of what does it mean to be an artist and a creator in today's world. So yeah, thank you. Yes, Colton? That's a really good question, and something that I'm like very, very obsessed by at the moment, because I think it's a really interesting point in history, because we never had something like this kind of before, especially not on this scale. And it's like very interesting to kind of think even about like media that's being shared on social media. More and more it's going to become AI generated. So it's like, where's the authenticity then? Like, how do we verify some things? I think also something I'm really kind of passionate about since I'm really training my own custom AI models is this idea of personalized AI. So in this case, there's a personalized AI that's learning my style and my art. But then what if you can actually communicate with this AI? What if you can kind of like have these like almost autonomous artists, or autonomous agents that are interacting with each other? And I think that's something I'm really kind of interested in exploring more. And then again, also how it relates to kind of ZK, because I feel zero knowledge proof technology is this link between blockchain and machine learning models, because zero knowledge proof kind of extends blockchain's capacity to alternative computational environments. And I think that's something that we're just about to kind of like, we're just kind of entering that sphere, and it's pretty much unexplored. So, that's something I'm excited about now. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah? Mm-hmm.
In this one, I can see that the AI model created the bones and
Muscles, yeah.
stuff. So, was the model only trained on your artwork, or does it already know some other things about the model?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So in this case, regarding these bones and muscle, that usually, I'm assuming where it comes from is during my art high school days, we used to do a lot of anatomical drawings and learn about like ligaments and proportions and stuff like that. So I think some of the styles picked up from that. However, what I find really fascinating also here is that even though this is a little pocket of my own art that was scanned and trained, this AI model essentially is also interacting with this way larger model called Stable Diffusion. That's how it can kind of generate some things and some concepts and ideas visually that are not in my data set. So it's almost like this very personal style and personal art that was not seen by the AI or was not on the internet is now being mixed with this huge pool of data of our like human visual output that's on the internet, because essentially Stable Diffusion was trained on almost every image from the internet. It used the Lion 5B dataset, which scraped most of the internet. But that is kind of really represents nicely our visual culture and our online culture. Of course, the dataset is biased in many ways, and not super yeah, let's say it has certain issues with it. But then again, it is in some way, a part of our collective visual output. So it's very interesting to see what happens when my style and my personal expression mixes with that way larger kind of global collective visual consciousness, I guess. So, yeah. Thank you so much, and yeah, I'm looking forward to share with you next time how it evolves. Yeah, thank you.